specifically. The general terms, and I'll say as I go through this, you'll see certain text that's highlighted. That's kind of the areas where I understood we still had some areas to discuss, but any of these are obviously open to discussion by the Planning Commission. So in general, all ADUs, this is for both internal or attached and detached ADUs, have to be registered and approved by the city. Wow, I put two withs and not a city. Approved by me, essentially, with owner occupancy requirement recorded against the property. ADUs that are used for short-term rentals have to meet our business license regulations. For those businesses, you're limited to one ADU per lot or parcel, whether that's internal or detached. All properties with an ADU have to be owner-occupied, and ADUs have to conform to building, safety, health, electrical, all those codes. And they are subject to inspection and approval by the building official and fire marshal. The other general requirements, ADUs require a separate certificate of occupancy. This is a newer requirement, but one that, especially when we have detached ADUs, it might make it, we thought in discussion with the building department, it'd be good to make sure that we're clarifying this structure can be habitable. It's occupiable by a family. Separate utilities are not permitted, so all ADUs have to connect to the main dwelling utilities, including septic tanks. That was a discussion we had in the document I sent around, and from the couple people who responded, it sounded like they're fine allowing septic tanks to continue subject to county health department's inspection. If you have to upsize it, you just have to follow county health rules on that.
Rob, can I interject?
Please.
Just a second? I know that the state law changed or will come into effect for these. Can you differentiate between which ones are mandated by the state and we really can't adjust too much and which ones we can?
Yes.
As we go? Thank you.
So maybe I'll start back. The registration and approval, that is not a requirement of the state, but something we're allowed to do. Short-term rentals, we don't have to allow them to be used for short-term rentals, but we have historically allowed that for internal. The one ADU, again, is not a mandate. Actually, none of these are mandates except for the building, health, and fire codes. Obviously, any construction has to meet building code. A separate certificate of occupancy, I think technically might be a requirement of building code anyway. So the utilities are not a requirement from the state, but we are allowed to prohibit ADUs if they don't have sufficient utilities to the property. And so that's reflected in the ordinance. Essentially, if we don't have capacity or you have insufficient utilities, I think the primary one will be sewer. If you can't, because of the grade, how the slope of your sewer lateral coming into your property, if you can't sewer to your own connection, that might prohibit it, but there's always ways around it. You can do personal like lifts on a property that are maintained by you. So it might limit it, but there's usually ways around it.
Chamber pots. Right?
Yes, but no, that's actually not allowed.
No, not allowed.
Not new septic. No, so septic we discussed as just allowing it if you have an existing septic tank. We wouldn't allow it if you have a sewer connection to add a new septic tank where one didn't exist previously. We want to avoid creating new septic tanks, but if you have one, I would defer to the county health. I wouldn't have an issue with that. Usually if you're on septic, it's because I don't want a sewer and a septic because it causes confusion over services. Yeah.
Is there a regulation as far as if you have a water source on your property?
It just says you must have utilities. So if you have a well on your property, there's a few properties I know. As long as you have the water rights to serve it, that's fine. We wouldn't require you to connect to city culinary. This is one that I think is still open for a little bit of discussion, that the ADUs should receive separate addresses. Not a requirement from the state. As I talked with police and fire, they were in favor of this because it helps them know that there might be a separate building or a separate area of a home that is occupied by people. So if they clear out one place, they know there's another place they should look for issues. I know I've had a couple residents inquire about allowing, like they want separate mailboxes so they don't get their, renters' mail in their mailbox. So again, this is open to discussion. We have historically not allowed separate addresses, but especially since we're going with detached ADUs, police and fire thought it'd be good to, that way we know on the building you have like an A and a B designation or perhaps two different numbers that show there's a separate unit, go look at that as well.
Will the county and the post office allow it?
The post office will. I've talked with the county. They are generally fine with it. I need to figure out whether they will allow us to actually record 2 addresses for 1 parcel.
Yeah, that's what
Or
I'm-
if they'll just say, you can do it, but you just have to kind of designate it as A or B, but it's still the 1 number address. So I'm still working with the county
So
on that.
it won't be different numbers, it'll be a B.
Yes. Like
Okay.
technically different in that there's like almost like a suite,
Yeah.
but
A,
not
B.
the same physical address for the property.
Got it.
Any concerns with going that direction?
So, Rob, quick question. Is a DADU a DADU? Wasn't there an
Dadus. That's
official
what we were calling
motion to
them.
call them DADUs? Can they be built without utilities?
No, they would have to have.
So
utility.
no one can live in an accessory structure, under regular accessory building
Yes.
regulations, setbacks and stuff, but no one can actually live there unless it meets.
Correct.
Okay.
And actually, that's part of the general definitions update. We had one little code that says no one can live in accessory buildings. And now I've tweaked that to say, except for ADUs approved in this other section, no one can live in these accessory buildings. So it'll still stay true for a detached garage or workshop. You can't just, live there, spend the night there. It's only if it hasn't been actually made into a dwelling unit, so you have the livable space, the kitchen, sanitation, and living space, so bedroom. Wow, I have a lot of typos, I apologize. Parking lots. Oh, so parking lots, oh, no, it's not. Required parking that are lost with an ADU have to be replaced. So if you had a garage that was, Highland City requires all single-family homes to have a garage with it. If you converted that garage into an ADU, you then have to provide additional parking for both the home and the ADU. Essentially, as if you're converting your required parking for the home into something else, you still have to replace it somewhere else. Plus the extra parking, yes. This is our current requirement. So that's everything that applies to both types of ADUs. Yes?
I was just going to say, if we decide to do 15 feet setback for a DADU instead of an accessory structure 10 feet, that will affect then allowing an accessory structure to become a DADU because it wouldn't meet the setback, is that correct?
Yes, and we're going to hit that in just a minute.
I have a quick question about the separate address.
Yes.
So even an attached dwelling unit would have, like somebody's basement, would have a separate address?
Yes. We'd have some kind of denotation that there are 2 units on the property.
Yeah.
And how I anticipate happening, we record a notice against the property that says, there's an ADU here, it's been approved by the city, this property has to be owner occupied, and then we'd also with that include, address is this, and we'll have each, the primary home and the ADU would just have designated on there, their A and B, or however we end up doing it. So it'll get recorded, and then we'll encourage them to post signs and people, so, not signage, but, the address marker, so we know where those units are.
And that having those is more important than just making sure your mail gets to the right place. It's critical with public safety responders to know, are they going upstairs or downstairs?
Yeah, police raiding your house type thing.
Well, more like EMS, if they know you're in Unit B, they'll know to go downstairs and maybe shave a couple minutes off.
What are
a
you doing,
response.
Deborah, that
Worried about
that's the
something,
first thing
Deborah?
you think about?
I'm just thinking of ice, lately.
She's over there with her collar popped, and
These
she
are the
looks
right
super
house,
guilty.
I don't know.
Okay, any other conversation on the general? Okay, moving to internal, nothing really has changed here. This is just what our current regulations are. So allowed on lots with at least 6,000 square feet, that is state law, so that's the minimum we can go. We require 1 off-street parking space, not a state law mandate, but something we can do. And then, other than addresses, you can't modify your home to make it appear those as 2 units. Essentially, we're trying to avoid duplexes. So that's current law. We haven't changed anything there. And then here's the new stuff. So but we've talked about this several times. So detached ADUs or DADUs, allow them on lots of at least 11,000 square feet. So that's state law. We can't go any higher than that.
So that's 11,000 square foot buildable, right?
No, that is, the lot or parcel is 11,000 square
The
feet.
whole,
The whole thing.
so you can put a detached ADU on a quarter acre of,
Quarter acre property.
I didn't realize we were going that low.
I mean,
would
if you
think
can,
that's
if you can fit
11,000
it.
square foot buildable, which a lot of people, a lot of other cities I've seen have, but I didn't know.
Nope, it is now 11,000 square
Little,
feet.
that's nothing.
Practically speaking, it'll be difficult because we have lot size,
Well, yeah,
lot
but even-
coverage limitations. And most people build their homes such that it's hard to get another driveway to run behind the home
Yeah.
to access the back portion. So
It's still.
going forward, I anticipate lots to be developed with detached ADUs in mind, but a lot of the older ones will be a little bit harder to convert into it. The next point, this is something that is required by state law, but we have to allow existing accessory buildings to be converted to include a detached ADU, so long as it conforms to city code and building and fire codes. Yep, so if someone has an existing detached garage or an existing pool house, they can add on to it, or maybe it's just a modification because they had a kitchenette, so now they need to run the 220 or gas line in there to have the full range. They can convert it.
If it complies to our setbacks,
If
right?
it otherwise complies with everything, and that's on the next slide. The accessory building can have portions that are the detached ADU and portions that are not. So this would be like a barn dominium, a shop, where you have a ground floor that's a garage or something else. You have another portions that's the ADU. And I'll go into the next slide. So any questions on, and the architecture to be compatible with the home. There's some questions about enforcement. We are, depending on how the council adopts the budget, we are looking at potentially turning our code compliance officer position, which is part-time, into a full-time position to be a planner tech. So we'll have someone whose job is to essentially help on all building permits to make sure that we can do these types of compliance things more consistently.
And when those are, which we hope, people are getting permits to do these things, materials are discussed?
Yep, so that's what this
So
will be.
exterior?
I don't know if it'll be, we'll ask for, show us what you're doing and make sure it's compatible. It's not a one-to-one. You don't have to use the exact same type of siding, but I think it should be painted, a similar color as the home, a similar appearance as the home. Yeah, a lot of HOAs will already require it, and most people, if they're spending the money to build this, will want to make it look nice as well.
Most HOAs require that.
I do have another question about, somewhere in here I read that if you have like a garage or whatever and you're adding in a detached, ADU to the garage, that it can't be any higher than the house?
So, about to get to that.
Okay.
So these are the areas I think that needed the most clarification. So, as I've proposed it, I've written what I've proposed, but obviously we can always change things. So, DADU and accessory building meets current city code. So generally for setbacks, that's 30 feet front, 10 sides and rear. Height, 25 feet, and the lot coverage limit of 5 to 7% depending on the zone. Let's stop there. We're allowed to regulate setbacks and height for detached ADUs and accessory buildings. Are we comfortable just staying with city code?
Because that would mean that if you had a building that was 10 feet away in the back, that you were trying, like a shop or a shed or something that you were trying to turn now into a two-purpose building, ADU, something else, you have, and it's grandfathered in perhaps because it's already been there, the location, how's that going to go?
So one of the things I put into the code is you can convert an existing accessory building as long as it conforms or is made to conform with current code. So if you have a grandfathered garage that was built on property line, we'll say you can't put a detached ADU in there.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
But if you're already 10 feet away from property line and you're under 25 feet height, we'd say, great, just show us, where the detached ADU is within that building as part of a building permit process. Any other concerns with just sticking with city code?
Whoops. Oh, is that part of the city code, or that highlighted blue, or is that ours?
So what I'm saying is current city code is that we allowed, so current city code for accessory buildings are the setbacks, height, and lot coverage limits.
Right.
And then the new proposal is just to allow detached ADUs in any accessory building that meets those requirements.
So what's the thing with the size of the home, to exceed the height of the home? That's my issue.
So that'll be,
Over 25 feet in many cases.
yeah, we'll get there. That's
What, I always thought I
third
had the
bullet
whole
point down.
page.
I want to just hit, are we comfortable just allowing detached ADUs as long as the building meets accessory building setbacks and height and all of those coverage requirements?
I actually, since the last meeting, been pondering this for a while, and we talked about allowing the ADUs to have the same setback as the accessory structures, but the more I thought about it, the more I don't think that is acceptable to me, and because I feel like they're different, they're totally different. Like an accessory structure is like a shed or a garage or something that you're not living in, that you're not there all the time, whereas a dadu is a home or even a porch or something where people are hanging out all the time. I'm not comfortable with it being 10 feet away, and I know that would make it a whole lot easier if we could just make the dadus and the accessory structures the same setbacks, but because they're different uses, I really feel like the dadus need to have a larger setback. Whether that is 5 feet, 10 feet, I'm not sure, but
And I would actually disagree. I think that gets into this area of telling people what they can and can't do in their backyard. So if it's like for socializing or for, for living, I mean, we can't tell them how far away they can have a barbecue or outdoor furniture or whatever.
But that's the thing, Wes, we can tell people because
We can.
we have other people that are affected. Like you said, we don't live on an island. I've heard you say that before. And, you have something 10 feet away, whether it be a high porch, or a high deck or a home, and then the people on the other side have their living space right there. They're looking down, hey, guys, I just feel like there needs to be a little more space there. And I don't know if that's possible to have 15 feet in an open space neighborhood. Rob, is that possible to have a deck that's 15 feet from the fence?
So that's actually the next item on the agenda. It's
You don't have the whole
really hard
page, we
to
only have one
have
line.
any
And
kind
my-
of accessory building or deck in open space neighborhoods. Most of them don't have anything.
What is the setback for the a livable house? What are the setbacks for the house?
30 feet front, 30 feet rear, 15-foot sides, traditionally.
Yeah.
So I think if something is livable, it should hold to those same standards.
Yes, I agree.
30 feet?
30, 30, 15, and 15.
See-
Whatever the house setback is, I think that the livable ADU should be in that
Yeah,
same envelope.
It's a house. I also feel that, some of the issues I have with this also is when you have an ADU and you could have like a second or a high, either a deck or a high porch or something, you'd be looking right, you're on your porch doing whatever, and you're 10 feet away and you're looking right into your neighbor's, no matter, there's very few shrubs that we put in that are 10 feet tall. There's 6 or 8 or something the most, but that seems like really invasive.
I do want to clarify to Commissioner Abbott's early point. In open space neighborhoods, the setbacks are typically minimum of 10 feet and a combined 25-foot side setback. So most homes have in open space neighborhoods, so Canterbury, Beacon Hills, are 10 feet on one side and 15 feet on the other side. And that's throughout those neighborhoods.
And what I'm saying is, whatever
Just mirror.
it is
Yeah.
in that neighborhood,
Yeah.
so if it's 15 and 10, then it has to be within the 15 and 10, because it's livable.
Yeah.
And then that way, it's easy to manage. I
People
don't think
do
it should
know.
get closer just because it's an auxiliary.
It's like always
I agree with the
Yeah.
use is the garage, it's not fully whatever.
Yeah.
But I think it would be easier, and if that's what it was for the home, that's what it should be. Because if you start breaking those open space communities and putting things, it's no longer really an open space community. You're kind of deleting the purpose of what that was, because it becomes livable, parking in front of it. That's just my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, and people know, they bought the house, they know what's there. You know, this is like an addition, we're like, this is a gift, whatever we're doing. It's, you know, for a lot of people, a lot of us who want to stay on our property or whatever. But when you buy a house that's made in the neighborhood set, you know what you're getting. And if you come in all of a sudden and say, well, I want to change it, and I want, that's, you know, I think we just need to keep it the way, I agree totally with him, that we.
Well, let me ask you this, Rob. If, let's just say it was the 10, if, because it's a small lot, they can't necessarily keep it detached because they can't have the distance, and they attach an ADU to the house, can that still go that far in? Or is it now the setback of the house?
They meet the setback of the house.
Yeah, so I think it should just stay the same.
I'm an Airbnb owner, and I stay in a lot of Airbnbs, and a lot of them are dadus. So part of the problem is in a lot of these cities that are older and the homes are older, but they'll have the really deep yards, and then they put these in as a secondary income. A lot of times in these cities, they still have to keep the framework of the privacy for the neighbors besides. It is I have stayed in a couple before where you are right up against the fence and you are looking right into someone else's slider windows, and it's
city living.
it's more than
whole
city
different
living,
place.
because the city's set up with a certain pattern, so we would be undoing
Yeah, that's what I
what
mean,
we
that's a
have
different.
trying to do. So
That's right.
I do kind of concur that whatever is the code for that neighborhood and the setbacks for that neighborhood kind of protects that, I'd have to say.
So I have a little different perspective. One of my concerns, if we implement the 30 front back, and on a smaller lot, we just eliminated a lot of opportunities that we're looking for.
That's the way it is.
Or we've shrunk them down to where no one would like to do it.
Yeah, I don't see how the
That's fine.
30-foot setback would be possible even for a dadu.
If you have 2, 3 acres of land or 5 or whatever, that'd be great, you know, then you could.
But the other concern I have is, I agree, I don't want someone looking in my window and I don't want to look at them. But if you design it properly, you put your windows the right direction, you can avoid that through design.
And who are you gonna, yeah. Can we trust that everybody doing that, you know, that's individual, that, you know, that house
Absolutely.
might sit differently on the lot.
So what about focusing on the footprint on the lot? And the setbacks are protected where, you know, these are done by scale due to the size of the lot, right? A lot of these they're going to be ADUs if it's a small lot, perhaps not a dadu, right? Because I've stayed in one where they've converted their garage into a suite, and then they had to make their own separate something. That was their Airbnb or their mother-in-law suite. And my son lived in Seattle in a tiny shed, like in a tiny house off somebody's property. They built a tiny home in the back. So, I mean, we have the percentage footprint sort of as a
limit.
that will help determine where they're going to place it. And on these small lots, whether they're wide or deep, they have the flexibility of deciding if they want a supplementary income. They can do it as detached or attached.
So I think we're okay are we kind of agreed on the lot coverage, the 5 to 7%? That was something we came to a consensus on.
Yeah, I think we all agreed on that. Where I'm trying is if we could have a practical example of our 144 to 6,000 square foot home with 30-foot setback, that makes it a home that could be 50 feet deep, 60 foot deep, 30 feet deep. Then you have your property. You might, in the act of doing that limitation, eliminate half of the city, or maybe not any. I would love to have a practical example of what we're describing would do to this, what the unintended
Yeah.
consequence of this might be.
I'll give you an example. So my house is a half an acre and it's a pretty large lot, but it's very narrow. So there's no way I could put a dadu in my backyard and comply. But I have a house that has a separate entrance, so I could put my ADU inside my house if I decided to do that. So that's an example of what, you could do
That's-
creatively if you can't do a dadu.
Yeah.
No, and I appreciate that. I was looking at just the lots that, with the limitations we put here, the 10-10 and the setbacks. With that applied to the lots where that applies to, how many would we lose if we made that the 30 instead of the 10? And I'm with you all on, yeah, whatever the number is, I'm with all of you. It needs to be done tastefully, respectful to the neighbors, respectful to the renters, everybody involved. And the push that, and I'm not going to speak for Chris, but in discussions with Chris on this, the original intent for the past several years, and Jerry could probably add to this, was a granny flats. It was the word that was brought. That's not politically correct, but the intent
Legacy
there is,
housing.
the intent, what did you say?
Legacy housing.
Legacy housing.
Yeah, the intent was to keep our residents in Highland that want to stay. And I'll give the spill once. If we limit the size and where they can go, we will knock out that opportunity for a lot of people. I don't, as we learned last time, there's not a whole lot of people that might even use this. But we're thinking it might be 50%, it might be more like 5%. But regardless, my comment here is, one of the original intents, we are eliminating it, and that's fine if that's what we all agree. But I want us to remember, why are we doing this? What are we looking for? It's not just about short-term rentals. It's about keeping our people, our families in Highland. And I've never not admitted, this is very interesting to me because this is what I want to do. And I would build it tasteful for myself, but 1,250 square feet might not be enough for me. Anyways, that's the next conversation. I apologize, but that's why I'm lumping that all together.
And I love this because people are talking about a dadu that's going to have like maybe over shop with the patio, or a deck looking over or something like that. That's not a granny flat. You're not going to put your wheelchair somebody
what
up
we'll
there.
have.
And that's not for convenience in elderly age or anything like that.
Yeah.
That's your kids are in college and you want them out of the main house.
Go ahead.
That's different. So I think when we're talking about that, I am flexible on the rear setback, more to like 20 feet, something like that. I think on a smaller lot, and I would delineate on the smallest lot that the state is requiring us to do.
So also, when we talked about the people having to leave, those were usually people that lived on big yards that they couldn't maintain. The smaller homes, they're probably going to stay in the home. So I don't think we're eliminating them, because I don't think they're the ones. It's the ones that have, an acre plus that just can't keep the yard. They have to move. But the ones in the smaller, they'll stay in their home. But they could still do a attached with a separate entrance on the smaller lots.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
don't think a
Yes.
retro,
Agree.
because a lot of people put the home right on the center. And to really do an ADU on a small lot, you have to plan it in advance, scoot the house to one side, whatever. So I think where the dadu is really going to apply are on your bigger lots. And I like
that's
your
fine.
idea of the front and back setbacks, because I think your streetscape will still look the same, the pass-through will look the same. The back, I think, I like your idea on that.
And I agree with you completely on that, too. And also, like, I'm from Boston, okay, so I've lived in apartments where I could basically put my hand out the window and shake hands with the people next door. And that, I knew that when I moved in. That's what I was looking for. That's what whatever. That's Boston, okay? This is Highland, This is not where you're going to, you know, we normally would want to shake hands with the person next door unless you go visit. And I think we have to keep the integrity of the city. And if we, and unless we, you know, it would be nice if we could say, okay, you can build this distance if you will keep it to this level and this way and this, that. But that is not going to happen. We can't, you know, take care of what we have.
Yeah, can
And
we
that's why I
regulate,
get
like,
really adamant kind of
placement of
feeling
windows?
about keeping things, not every single thing. I mean, times have changed, we have to change some things, but keeping things when we had it for a reason, when we wanted to keep the integrity of Highland, keep it. You know, we want to keep the integrity of Highland.
One thing I had a thought of, this may not be enticing to anyone, but you could potentially come up with two different regulations based on the height of the building. So a single-story building that's 15 feet or less can be accessory building setbacks, but a two-story building has to meet home. Don't know if that's appealing to anyone. I just thought there's no.
I like it.
There's a lot of ways of slicing.
Yeah, because that solves some
I
problems.
like that.
Because I was trying to think, okay, 10 feet, 15 feet, like, does this much room make a big difference? But then I didn't want to be cynical
Does to
about it. Like,
everybody else.
it might make a difference, like 5 feet, you know, with, you know, the kind of vantage point a window might have or something. Because I do hear and agree with, you know, the points that Sherry and Deborah are making about, you know, kind of this privacy and, you know, there's this expectation for years and years and years of, you know, the house is here between two neighbors, and then all of a sudden plopping in another dwelling unit right next to the property line. I get that. I totally get that.
So if you have a deep, like, how do you handle that? So on a lot size, if we maintain the side so that the street visual is the same, and you change the rear setback according to the size of the dadu, if you are, you know, if it is a two-story, it is a 30-foot setback. If it is a one-story, we can go to 15.
We can write something like that.
What are your thoughts?
It's a challenge to fit everything into one box. And I'm just trying to run through all the different lot sizes. That would work great in one, not necessarily in another. Yeah. I don't know how to make it so that it makes sense and it's easy to understand, but yet accommodates all of the different concerns.
And it's, you know, and there are definitely a number of lots that it's just not feasible. You know, they're not going to be able to fit
I know,
one
and that's-
either way.
I think we kind of,
have an ADU option.
yeah, I think we kind of agree that this won't work on anything less than 3/4 acre lot, especially if we have the extra
Setbacks.
setbacks.
Yeah.
Which is fair.
Unless somebody just puts it on top of a garage.
But
Right.
then that's where, that's,
Say
Like
that
an
again?
existing
that's
house.
still
and
coming
just
up,
put it
isn't it, with this
right on
height
top.
thing?
Oh, but then
Oh, but then
that's,
it's an ADU.
then ADU, yeah,
Unless it's the detail.
but it still works.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, this last week, well, I like to go for walks, and I've found lots of what I would consider ADUs already in existence.
Oh, yeah.
And I know they're not zoned, and I did talk to several people this last month, and not a single one of them showed up, which I didn't think they would. But it's really interesting. There's lots of really tasteful examples out there. One that I really liked and I watched being built was right on the Murdoch Trail. And they're right on there. So they have what looks like zero backyard, or zero, but it's the trail behind them. So it really fits well. But if that was another house, yeah, you'd be looking right in each other. So
Yeah.
I don't know how you accommodate for something like that, but some of them look much better when you stick it far back in the corner, and some would affect the backyard neighbors, so.
But how could we enforce that?
Rob, can we stipulate a setback in relation to a dwelling unit on the lot next to?
Yes.
So instead of a setback from the property line, a setback from the closest dwelling unit?
Yes, there's actually some plats up in Beacon Hills where instead of saying it's a combined 25 minimum 10-foot side setback, it is a minimum 15 between residences with those setbacks. So it's kind of whoever built first gets to dictate
Yeah,
where their
yeah.
neighbor's home gets to be built. So
Yeah.
that is doable. We can do something like it is, in something like that, I would recommend having 2 setbacks and we say whichever one is greater. So you have your minimum, maybe it's a 10-foot minimum, or 20 feet from the nearest home or other residence, or 15 or 30 or, whatever the number is, something like that, where you have
From the
a
other
minimum,
resident.
and
Right.
if the other one's more,
Uh-huh.
then you have to shift it further back.
How does that sound, Sherry, Deborah? Because I'm warming up to your concerns.
I was still thinking about the homes that back the trail and thinking we could maybe do some wiggle room there if they've got an open space area that's not going to change and not going to be built on ever, like our trails, that maybe give them 20 instead of the 30 type thing. But, you know.
I like that idea. You know, so much of this ideally is wonderful, I think. I just have issues with enforcement. And I have issues with somebody coming and say, he could do this, why can't I do this? And that's why we have these arguments all the time, because people are doing that, I like the idea, if it's a trail, and that's all it's ever gonna be used for, at least in our lifetime, and because there's a house over here and whatever. But if that one's 20 feet, and then the other one behind, that would have to be able to be 20 feet. It's only fair. So we've got to make sure the trail's good and wide, We have some little trails, too. So I just think we're adding, much as I like the idea, and I think it would hurt nobody, as it is, I just feel like we're adding more of these kind of talks for ourselves as, just as someone comes in and says, well, I know this is the rule, these are the ordinances, but,
And this is important because we're built out, pretty much. So this will be the new build. So this is what the density is going to happen in Highland. And it's happening illegally, like people are doing it. And so how do we put something that's going to be
But that's an ADU.
enforceable and understandable when someone's actually coming to do it?
I think that's a really good point, and that's my concern about getting it done and getting it done right, is those people would have built to the code because it is allowable
And then somebody,
versus what we're doing now. So I like what you suggested, that either or distance, that makes it customizable to the lot or the area or the development or the HOA, whatever limits. I mean, for me, if you have a house on this lot and you have a house on this lot and it's 10 feet, well, you're still probably 40, 50, 60 feet from the house. But if they build an ADU,
Yeah.
then you're 20 feet apart, 10 here, or 30 feet apart,
And
or
that's-
whatever
yeah.
we put. So that's where you run into, I think the concern is when somebody else does something, because lots of the different lots, you don't see, that 10, 15 doesn't make any difference until they come to the
yeah,
property line.
exactly, that's kind of my feeling.
Absolutely.
Right. 'Cause it seems like doing the setback based on the closest dwelling unit would keep that from happening.
But then somebody else could build another dwelling unit.
Yeah, if they add an ADU later.
Yeah, that's the thing with that. Well,
But there would be the
He
other
could.
setback also.
but
It
the
would be
guy across the street could.
There would be
Why
the
can't
setback
I?
from the property line or the setback from the neighboring dwelling.
I appreciate your comment of keeping it fair, and I agree, but that applies in everything we do, and they have the right to come and request, and we turn them down regularly if it's not reasonable. But to your point, we want to do it right. What is right? And I wish we had public comment. And what I'm going to ask is if we let Rob continue, let's get through this, we'll open a public comment, give everybody a time to think for a minute, and then we can come back and attack this list however we need to. Does that work? Go ahead.
I was just gonna, sorry, I was thinking, I was listening, but I was also thinking about the other thing we were talking about, where the 20 feet from the property, and that would limit the neighbor, and I think that could potentially, I don't know, Rob, could they have a case there against saying, you know what, you allowed them to put in an ADU, and then now that limits me because I can't put one in?
I don't think so. I wouldn't be too worried about that, as long as the setbacks were clear. In some ways, zoning regulations are never fair.
Yeah.
Because they always exclude something that we want or include something we don't want. That's why we always do code changes every month, because something
to-
isn't quite there.
To Trent's, thought, like, it would be nice to have this one-size-fits-all solution, right? But this is not going to be the case.
But this kind of thing to me, though, is, I know, like, if I have no intent, my house is kind of in the middle, and I'm about a half acre, or I am a half acre, I guess. And I have no intention of putting an ADU anywhere. If I can't live here, I'll move. So if I can't handle my house, I'll move. Much as I love Highland, I'll find another place here. By then, we'll have a senior home. But I just really have a hard time with, like, if the guy behind me, same size yard, say, was able to put an ADU in, or a DADU, and then I couldn't simply because he did. You know what I mean? Simply because he did, I'm not allowed to on my own property.
How is that different
And it's just because he was there, he did it first. Well, that's a good idea. I want to do it too. I want to stay on my property. I just don't think that, there are some things I totally get with, no, we can't do that, this guy was first or whatever. But I'd have a hard time living in my house, looking at his ADU and saying, I should have one too.
But that's the same thing as saying, well, why can't I put this here because of a setback? It's.
But the setback would be.
But not all lots are equal. Not all lots are situated
No, but it'd be the
equally,
setback would be equal from the fence, you know what I mean? So if he has something in the right setback and I could fit something in the same setback, that's fine. But if because of if you were talking about distance between buildings, and because he did, I can't, because
Right.
his is too close.
So listening to all of this takes me back to just go with the building setbacks that came with the lot. And if it's livable, it just has to stay in. If it's a auxiliary dwelling unit, it goes by the other codes, but if it becomes,
Yeah.
and then they can still attach it. Really, the only difference with these setbacks is if they can detach it or not, but you
Yeah.
can still attach a separate
Right.
ADU unit.
Yeah. I'm just
Because I
thinking-
really think the detached is going to apply to the bigger lots anyways.
Yes, well, that'd be ideal,
And
if we
I
could,
mean, like, I did like your idea, but now
Write
I'm
it that
starting
way.
to think, Rob, all this, it's better just to say, yeah, you can do one of these now, and if it works on your lot to detach it, great. If not, attach it. These are the requirements, but the building envelopes are the same. Because somebody else that lives in a neighborhood and knows that the back setback was 30 feet, they know that they're always going to be 60 feet away, and then we suddenly pass something that says, no, they can be 10 feet right up, livable, right up to your thing, and two-story. Versus right now, they could do an addition on their house, go two-story, as long as they're in their building envelope.
yeah.
I don't think it opens up the argument that, wow, you devalued me because you allowed this person.
Yeah.
And this, I think it just simplifies it, even though
It's
I
just,
like
it's
it.
just
I
good
agree.
common
I
sense.
agree.
It's good horse sense.
So maybe I'll ask this question as well. So if it sounds like there might be a majority of the commission in favor of just applying the main dwelling setbacks to the DADUs, would you apply the main dwelling height regulations as well? Since you can
Yeah.
build the home
Yeah,
on
you
the
have
entire
to.
buildable footprint within that setback at 35 feet, can you build a detached structure also to 35 feet within that same setback
Detached?
footprint?
If it's detached, you're saying though, right?
Yes, detached,
Because if it
so
was attached, they could go as high as.
if they were attached, they could fill their whole buildable footprint.
I still like it's up to you, what you guys think, but.
We can't have our cake and eat it too. If we're going to go by these, you know, the
I
existing
mean, really, to
regulations.
get to 35 feet, you have to have a big house for the roof line to get up there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put a small detached unit, you'd have to like
These little
spike your-
silos?
Yeah, you'd have to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
which then doesn't match the architecture of the existing building. So I guess to keep it simple.
But what about if it's on a shop? You know, it's the top of a garage, the top of a shop.
That's where I get.
That's what I'm saying. I
afraid
think
of.
I would be fine if it just went to the height, because I don't think they would go that high. I don't think it could go that high on a small building. and
Would
look
we
right.
run into the situation where someone wants to do a dadu, but they can't fit it? And so instead, they do an attached dwelling unit, and they bring it right out to where they wanted to be, and it's bigger and more intrusive than if they would have just been allowed to put in their dadu.
They have it right.
But it still wouldn't be,
Right.
it still has to be 30 feet back and 35 feet tall. So it's not any worse than
Yeah,
building
yeah,
a
yeah.
building that's 30 feet, that's, 10 feet back and whatever.
Cool, cool.
Sorry, Rob, we had to play with this mentally. We
Yeah,
had
Rob.
to stretch it
We got
and
to
pull
think
it.
about these things, Rob.
And as much as I hate the fact of going
Yeah,
about
no, I like
25
that, though.
feet.
I like that, Jerry.
If we stick with the 30 back, I'd have to go to the 35 feet. I mean, in all fairness.
So it
So-
sounds like there is a majority to say, basically you apply
'Cause I don't-
the home regulations to the detached ADUs.
Yeah.
Yep. And the lot coverage will still apply because it's an accessory building. Okay?
The only thing I want to bring up, and again, it's easy to talk about it and picture it in our mind because we all live in different parts of the city. I just want to, if a practical example really helps. Because if you look at this, the ones I looked at as I went out this last month, it would look really silly, in my opinion, to have my dadu right in the center of my backyard. It makes it unappealing. There's not a big yard, there's just little pieces because you're just a big circle. In that circumstance, putting it back in the far corner makes more sense. It looks better, it's better, more appealing.
Or build them
But,
attached.
but from somebody else's perspective, doing that would encroach on the neighbor. And I totally understand and respect that too. So I don't want to lose that ability to be able to put it in the best place, but I don't want to encroach on most of the problems we have when people come here is you just blocked my view of the horizon with the Patterson development over that. We heard that time and time again. You can't build that even though you're allowed to because you're blocking my view. So those type of things happen. We want to be respectful. And I don't want the ordinance we just talked about forcing someone to put a dadu in an area where it just makes it unappealing, unattractive, or not aesthetically pleasing, whatever the words you want to choose. Gives them those, I want to give options rather than shoehorn us into limiting the ability to do this. Now, if that's what we want to do, that's great, and we can put ordinances in to completely eliminate this really as a practical option. And that's what I'm afraid we're headed in that direction. But a practical example would either prove me wrong or prove me right. And
But
I
you-
don't have one.
And I kind of feel like the ideal would be the same setback on all sides, you know, to have the same rear setback as the side setbacks. But, you know, instead of 30 feet.
Yeah,
That's the backyard.
if it's inside a shop, that makes sense because that would match all other shops in the area. And, or it would eliminate those with a shop. Well, sorry, you can't do it because even though it might work and be hidden my perspective, it's hidden super well in a shop because no one really even knows it's there. But that doesn't apply, again, in just my experience. So anyways, I fear that we can't, myself included, see all of the applications that could be limited, but we also can't see the problems we're going to cause for somebody else.
So I would rather shrink the rear setback and shrink the height requirement.
And shrink the size of the house.
Well, I mean, the lot coverage will
12,
stay the same.
yeah, the
Thing with
footprint.
the
whole
footprint that protects it.
If we were to put it closer, I would, making it small, I mean, because I'm picturing, and, with all the requirement, the 1250 square foot, with this and that, and this, I'm picturing people taking that whole room, that whole space, making it as big as we say they can. And that's why getting it too close, especially the
As,
height.
if I was moving out of my big home and putting myself in the granny flat in the back, I would want distance from whoever's living in the home. And so, right. And I would want my own little space too. You have to allow for parking, you have to allow all that stuff. And so I do see what you're saying. It does kind of eliminate the option, even on, from half acre on, for sure. And especially if you have a wide lot. So I am more flexible with the rear setback.
Yeah, I think we should have a rear setback that's.
Attached ADU still meets the state requirement, right?
Sorry, what do you mean by that?
Some cities don't allow a separate dwelling unit, period.
Right.
The state is saying you have to allow ADUs, which is also an attached ADU. That's a separate
Yeah,
dwelling.
we have to now allow a detached
Right.
ADU.
So we've already allowed attached ADUs that are out there, and people can still do them. They can't do both.
Correct. So is there a consensus on this item, or should we move forward and then
Well,
return to it?
I don't agree that we should make all the setbacks 10. I think we already discussed why we didn't want that.
Yeah, 10 probably too.
So,
Two.
I'm not agreeing with.
Can we move forward to the other ones and
Yeah,
then
let's
come
pause
back?
and
Let's
move
come
forward
back.
and
Let's
come
put a
back. Thank you.
pin in it.
Okay. How much living area for the detached ADU? We had tossed around the number of 1,250 square feet, measuring just basically living space of the dadu. Any significant concerns with lowering, increasing that?
I think we came to a consensus that 1250 was good.
Yeah.
Was that?
Yes. That's as high as
I
I'd
may
wanna
have
go.
been just the outlier. And again, my concern is, if it's for me, I want it bigger. If it's, this promotes a rental, not a, whatever we called it. Yeah.
space.
A place for me to go when I don't want to climb stairs.
We are busted.
I'm good with 1250 if I'm just doing a rental. I think that's, I gave the example before. That's the size of my mother's single-person room at the Covington in Lehigh. She was just like 1,200 square feet. That's for one person, and that's their standard room for one person. So
take that.
if you look at it
That's a
that
big
way, I wanted to go to 15. Again, your lot size, all of those different things doesn't mean you have to go 15. It means you can go up to 15. Your lot might drive you to, you can only do 650. That's why I love that percentage piece, because that limits it. But that's the reason why I wanted to go bigger, is if I live in a 5,000 square foot home, to downsize to 1,250 square feet is just too small for that purpose. For rentals, absolutely, that's great.
Can we include on here, does not include like bathrooms?
It doesn't include staircases.
Yeah, it already,
Well, you've gotta
yeah, it
include
already
inter-
says it doesn't
inter-
include stairs. but
It's got to, you got to include the livable. You can't carve out.
Yeah, You'd
Who's
have to
living in
include
their
Gotta
bathroom?
the
Can't take
kitchen,
rooms out.
bathroom, and living space, because that's what makes a dwelling unit a
Right,
dwelling unit.
So let me comment just on that. You know, I currently sell 1,200 square foot homes.
There's a lot of them.
It's going to look like, you know, a 1,500 square foot home is a home. It's going to start looking like a flag lot that's got a house in the back. However, I think if you have a lot that's, say, 2 acres, it's not going to, you know, what do you call that? When you size it? Proportional. So I would say nothing over I mean, I was trying to stick with 1,000 is where I was at, just so it doesn't get like a home. It looks like a one-bedroom, whatever house. But I know in other cities, they've gone to the 1,250, and like the one on my house is, I think, 1,100 square feet. And I know it's not the bathroom you would want. But I would be open to saying it can go to 15 if it was, you know, an acre
Two
or
acres
bigger.
or more.
Yeah, or 2 acre, acre and a half to 2. like where the lots, because
Yeah.
we do have a lot of big lots.
Yeah.
And I don't think that would look,
Disproportionate.
because those bigger lots have bigger homes.
Yeah,
And this would look
in bigger rooms.
proportionate. But I wouldn't want to see this on a 3/4 acre lot, but that's what I'm saying. I think if we say, look, 1250 on anything acre and a half or lower, or
Or even go
or-
to
or higher.
15 with 2
So-
acres
so
or more.
I don't know what the lot size is, but it's got to be greater than an acre. Like, it's got to look proportionate, I think.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that, because that was the picture in my head, is it has to be an acre or bigger, because it's proportional. You don't have a 6,000 square foot house.
I would be open to it, because I don't think it'll end up looking like a flag lot.
Yeah.
Or a whole nother house, because it could,
There might be.
you
two
could have a
in the city.
1,500 square with a 2-car garage placed on a 2 acre. It's going to look like a house sitting over there, but,
Well, then we have the whole parking thing. Is only allowed how many vehicles?
oh, it's, with 2
Right.
acres, you'll put the 2 on there and.
Yeah.
Right, and so you'll have that, and their boat, and their RV, and their,
Hey, what's
Everything
wrong?
else.
Hey,
So I figured out an actual example on my lot. My lot is .91, so just under an acre. With the 5% rule, I can build right around a 2,000 square foot something. So
That's another.
it's, that right there, this limit of 15, I wouldn't be able to go any bigger than that. But if I built a 2,000 square foot shop, I could hide 1,500 square feet inside of it, or 1,250, whatever in it. So all of these numbers, and that's why these practical examples, we have so many things pushing in that even though I can paint a picture of this, whatever, it's going to be limited by all these different things. So I like what you're saying, Jerry, that makes more sense. Whether, I'm putting myself out there as an example, probably will never do it, but it's an example.
And just another thought is you could say 1,250 above ground.
1250 above what?
Above ground, meaning
Oh, yeah.
you can do additional
yeah.
250 square feet, another bedroom, bathroom down
Yeah.
in the basement. Because would it count if they did an unfinished basement and they just said it was 1,200 square feet? Because then, you know that'll get finished eventually.
Yeah, I didn't think about
So
below
you would
ground
just,
would be
the
fine.
possible developable, because I know,
we do need to.
I know that they were enforcing the code here where guys were building garages and they wouldn't allow any plumbing or future because they knew they were going to try to
Yes.
add a studio or something. So,
That's what we've been doing. I would probably count an unfinished area as part of it. I mean, it's a livable space, or
Right.
it can be very easily, you put up some drywall
Converted.
and it's
yeah.
there.
So maybe it's 1,250 with another
I like that.
250
If we put above ground
down.
in here, then we've got, leaving it open for all you want underneath.
How
Just
would we
don't Cause an
handle
earthquake.
walkout basements?
Mine's a walkout.
Oh, you'd have
We
to have
have
egress.
Many, a steep lot in Highland.
If it's a walkout to the back, I would say that's the additional 250 below.
But if it's a walkout with 10 foot back, you're not walking out anywhere. I don't know. I
The
kind of
side, yeah.
didn't see basements. Yeah, I like what you're saying, but I kind of pictured these as all being lower than 25 feet. Probably no basement, but could be a basement. But then the space is spread between it. So is that main, well, you said below ground, but main floor and upstairs? I mean, how do you break that up? There's lots of different options. So I am okay with the 1250, but I would prefer the 15, and we don't need to debate this one long, but
Yeah, I think we debated it quite a bit last time. But I would be open to bigger lots.
I like the larger lot is allowed,
Balance
the
is 12.
bigger square footage. I like it, and I think we have to consider basement options, so that's absolutely gonna happen somewhere. Walkouts are important, and a walkout is gonna create a porch or a patio at least, right?
that would push.
So is there a reason to continue having the 1250 limitation or do you just leave it at the lot coverage limitation, the percentage of the lot?
I was thinking about that. I mean, if you have like a huge lot, then all of a sudden they can plop a 2,500
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
square foot. So I think,
You're
could I,
basically splitting our lot without
could I
splitting.
put a, like a, you know, a 2,500 square foot bunker in underground as long as there's like a 1,250 square foot above ground?
Yes, actually, you
They
can.
have basketball courts under Timpanogos Highway
that's-
right now.
That's fine.
So I will tell you this, if you go to Bull River where there are 2-acre lots, there are more than half of the lots, if you went to 2,500 square, or didn't put a limit on it, you would have multiple houses throughout that neighborhood. I mean, the HOA would prevent it, but that could happen.
I'm
I still
sure-
think there should be a cap on
I
how.
definitely agree, because that's how we're going to limit it as a dadu instead of just another way to convey a lot.
I honestly think that's going to be a huge tax on our, like, impact on our utilities, like what's even possible.
Oh, yeah.
And the
utilities.
draw on it, I do think we need to consider that on the water, sewer.
It's already a consideration.
Yeah, but it's an unexperienced consideration. So we don't know what we're into because we've never experienced it, what it's actually going to do. We're saying that unless they have enough electricity to pull on it, but then we're now having Texas Instruments and like these huger homes that are going to, oh, but we want landscaping now in the back next to their ADU. And then I don't know, I'm just seeing we need to have utilities available for this, and so the bigger, the more it will use.
The more.
So I'm not making a motion, but I'm making a suggestion, and we can talk about it. How about, as Jerry said, for acre, or 1,250, if your lot is over 1 acre, insert whatever you want there, you can go up to 1,500 square feet.
So an acre and over 1,500 square
1,500
feet.
limit.
Acre and under 1,250.
1,250 is maximum.
I like that.
And it's regulated by your coverage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
I like
let's
that.
move to the next one, and let's.
Just
start-
make sure I understood, it was under an acre, 1,250, acre or over, 1,500.
Right.
If it matches.
Yeah.
And with
all
all
the
the
other
all
regulations
of the
still
other-
With
apply.
everything else, yeah.
The percentage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Parking.
Got it. The next one was one we didn't talk about, but as I was going through the state code, we are allowed to regulate this, so I just wanted to bring it to the planning commission to see if you wanted to adopt it or not. So you can, if you'd like, the accessory building holding the dadu cannot exceed the height or size of the home or be located between the home and the front property line. So we can impose that to keep it essentially behind the home and lower and no bigger than the home. So if you have a small home on a large lot, you're limited to that same size of a detached ADU.
So I like it, except I don't like the located between the home and the front property. Because I know everybody's thinking existing home, but when you design a new home, that ADU is always out front. And then the resident sits back, when, you know, it's all forward.
Oh,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
On a new build, you design that because you want that person to pull up, be
Yeah.
there, and then you're back over here. And so I don't know, and on a existing home, chances are they're already pulled all the way forward anyways, so I don't think it's gonna happen on existing.
There's a few, but very few, where they set the house in the
Way
back
back.
and they have a giant front yard. But very few, but still, yeah, it would limit them.
It could still look, fine. I don't know. I like your other part here, though, about building can't exceed height and size of. So basically, if somebody has a big, single-story house, they can't do a two-story ADU.
Yeah.
so with that question,
So basically, what we're saying is, if you have a single-story home existing, you can't go build a two-story ADU, in what you're saying on this.
correct. Now, I'll just flip it. I know there's some homes that are existing and are smaller. If someone, say we got rid of the, can't be between the home and front property line, would there be any concern with saying, someone looking at the existing home that's a small rambler and saying, you know what, we're going to make that the detached ADU and build our actual home behind it? Would there any be concerns with going that direction? As long as whatever ended up being the detached ADU met all of these requirements for size and limitation.
Yeah, I just don't know if we have a scenario where there's a
Does that
1,250
build
square foot
a
home.
flag lot?
I've talked with one person where that might be something they do.
But if it meets those I mean, if that main home, the existing home is 1,500 square feet, then sure.
I was just wondering if there's any concern. I don't think it's going to be very common, but I know of one place where they said, could we live in this home, build a bigger home, and then make this the detached ADU? I was like, well, I don't know, because we haven't adopted the ordinance yet.
I'm dying to know where this is, Rob.
It was on 6,000 West. It's one of those, it's a corner lot that's
How
very
big is the-
deep.
Is it a big lot?
It's a big lot, it's like an acre, it has a smaller rambler home in the front, and they're thinking, well, let's just build our larger home off to the side, where we'll have a full access. As long as, in the end, everything complies with the regulations, you care essentially which one gets built first.
Well, it's going to look like two homes on the property, which we were trying to avoid, right? If the home they're building is bigger than the little one in front or to the side, it's going to look like two homes.
Exactly what house this is. It's
But
by
if their
Highland
existing home is, let's say, 1,250 square feet, then, I mean, yeah, we would have to say, absolutely, you can do that. I mean,
Unless we put this regulation.
Yes.
Where it can't be in the
Right.
front.
Part of it was to hide this in the back was the intent.
point.
And that's, I think that's, but I can see both perspectives, and it would be a great opportunity for a very limited number of people.
yeah, if that existing
I like
home
it
is
in the
that far back, then.
With the number of new build potentials that we have on an acre, larger than an acre, we don't have a ton of those left.
There's one more thing, too. It's supposed to coincide or be complementary to the home. And if you've got a really old home that's 1,250 and then they build this brand-new home, is it really going to be similar?
I mean, think of it in reverse. If you have a big home, but you build a small DADU, is that similar?
Architecturally.
You can make it
it look.
Yeah.
I'm
It's an
actually,
existing
I'm
home.
actually open to not allowing it in the front, just because we have so much build-out.
Would they need to then make it look like their new home?
So I'm
You don't
saying,
have to do that.
I'm fine to say that you can't put the ADU in front of the
Okay.
existing home. Because I like what you guys were saying, so we don't have the multiple house look, if it's
Yeah.
always either on the side or in the back.
Yes, yeah.
So it's.
Real circle.
See, I changed my mind. See
I,
that?
I,
All
I
right.
like to keep it in the back.
I think we're on that. Let's move to the next one.
Okay.
All right.
So this one's staying as it's written, and the last one was just parking. Obviously, we're always going to require at least one parking space. State law says we can require, at most, a second parking space if the DADU is 650 square feet or over.
Yay,
Do we want to follow that requirement? Under 650, 1, over 2?
yes, I do.
I wanted 2 for both, but if that's the
too.
law, let's follow the law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't require 2 for both, so this is the most we can require.
Also on a smaller lot, that would be tough to get a second.
Small lot shouldn't
Just try
even
not
have
to
a-
restrict it.
an
from
attached
happening.
So I agree.
dwelling unit.
What is over there by the high school, and my sister has to try to put her car sideways to fit on her driveway if she's not inside the garage. So,
Well, as long as she's on her
Park in the
driveway.
garage.
Okay?
Or
That's
move-
everything.
Build some more driveway.
So, yep, I mean, the only thing I had left was just the normal requirements. So modern community housing plan, like I said, requires us to adopt an ordinance this year. After this, we'll monitor the ordinance to see how effective it is. And it's either to, if there's too many impacts, adjust it to reduce the impacts. If it's not being adopted, look at loosening restrictions going forward. We posted notice, mailed notice, nobody commented. So we recommend a public hearing, settle any final changes, and then recommend adoption.
All right, thanks, Rob.
Yeah, good, good.
We'll
I feel
open this
better.
up to public comment. Is there any? Oh, thank you. I am so disappointed we don't have 1,000 people here.
I
but
know, me
Thank you for
too.
speaking
Me
up.
too, I want to get some.
I'm Liz Rice. I'm Highland City resident, Highland City Council, but I'm not representing the city council, so just so you know. So I've talked to quite a few residents about this. So if you have your pencils ready, and I'm going to really try to make this short, but a true mother-in-law apartment is about 1,000 to 1,250 square feet. So this is me personally, I just want to make sure that we don't have any prefab trailers, nothing on wheels.
That's
No
written in
tiny
there.
houses on wheels. Okay, because that's kind of what we're opening ourselves up to right here. And I just want to make sure that that is in there.
It's in there.
If they're behind, well, they're behind. I think the current fire code is sprinklers in any new home. Is that the fire code now? No. Or sprinklers in a home over so many square feet?
Yes.
Okay, he's looking. Anyway, and I'm going to give you two examples, and this is me personally. So we have a rehab unit within Highland, okay? They have about 1.5 acres. They have enough to make that, and they border 2 streets. They have enough property there to put the front house as a detached unit and build another rehab unit behind. Now, there are restrictions on that, but I'm just kind of telling you some of the things that I think you're going to get pushed on.
Liz, can you repeat a what?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry.
Like a
Was it, did
rehab
you say a
facility?
rehab facility? Okay, I didn't, I missed
There's
that
a rehab,
first part.
if you want to
Thank
come over to
you.
my house, I can take you there.
I think I know where you're talking about.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I just want to make sure that we understand that, you know, kind of lock it down a little bit. I'm just wondering about, so in other words, if somebody had a pool house, they could convert that to an ADU. I'm just asking questions. And I don't know if on some of these, I don't have any personal preference. I don't have an opinion. That's why I come, is to listen to you guys, because I know you guys work really hard, and I know you guys lay a lot of the hard groundwork for us. I do think 1,500 square feet is too large. Even though that's on 1 acre or more, I get what you're saying.
2 acres.
I did spend some time on the phone with the tax assessor, and I just want people, since we're on the record, I just want people to understand that when you build something like this, it's going to increase your
Property tax.
your property tax, right? So that's just neither really here nor there for you to do anything about, but I just want to make sure that everybody understands that. As far as the separate addresses go, and I know it's good, this is what I think I heard. So if they currently have a basement apartment and they put an ADU on a property that's 1 acre, they can't have 2 families, because you have up to 3 families on that, or 3 addresses, 3 possible addresses, 3 possible mailboxes, and that's a no.
Right.
Okay, they have to
Yeah.
have one or the other.
One or the other.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you have an AD.
I just want to make
you
that
can't
clear in
have
my
a-
brain.
And you can only rent one of them.
You can only rent one. So, because this is what I see. I see somebody renting out their basement and then having mom and dad in the ADU, or the detached ADU. That's what I see. They're all related, except for maybe the people in the basement. Or maybe the people in the basement, you still have 3 families, but they are immediate family. So,
Isn't it written in here that you can only have one, either an ADU or a detached ADU, just
Yeah.
not both?
Yeah,
You can
that's-
only have one.
that's
So if
in-
you already, yeah, so we
Okay.
already have that written.
that's
yeah,
fine.
so- Yeah.
Say that again,
Yeah.
Jerry, I'm sorry.
People are going to do what you said, but we can't really.
I know, enforcing this is.
Well, the families
I
are
personally think
huge,
it's a
and everyone
nightmare.
takes their family into their house, and
I
that's
know.
what happens.
I know.
As
I
like-
get it.
As long as the primary
I've been
owner
there.
lives there, they can do whatever.
I had my son move back home a couple of times, so with his whole family. There was a couple of other things that I had, just 1 second. The parking really concerns me. I'm more with the 2 parking lots. I just think the more cars on the street, it just, I know that under state statute, I think you can have one on-street car, but the majority of residents in Highland have 4 cars. So then you add an ADU with probably 2, because most people have at least 2 cars anymore. Just putting it out there. It's not that I have an opinion or anything at all. And I just kind of want to go with what Audrey said. This is going to put a bit more of a strain on our sewer and our water. It is. I just have to say, so I sit on a half acre, and I'm not even thinking about an ADU because I sit on a corner lot, and there is no way it would fit. But I don't want somebody looking in my back window to watch me brush my teeth, and I don't want to hear them brush their teeth either. So I know that's kind of, I'm not trying to be flippant or rude, but that, I just don't want that. And I think that, you know, with the 11,000 square feet, I think, and you know this as well as I do, that is there's always somebody who comes in thinking, well, you did this. I mean, I like your setbacks for being the regular what their houses are, because somebody's going to come in and go, well, you did this for the ADUs with lower setbacks. Why can't I have lower setbacks on this lot? And as far as bigger homes that are being built in Highland, what I'm seeing in my area is that even though they might be larger lots, half acre to 3/4 an acre, some of those homes are taking 2 to 3 lots to build on. So just, you know, and that's kind of a consideration with ADUs if you think about it a little bit. But I appreciate your time and all you do. Thanks.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you.
You got 3 minutes, and if you're talking good, we'll let you talk for 4.
If you're talking good.
My name's Tyler Leifson. I'm a resident. Actually live just a house away from Liz there, one of her neighbors. A lot of the questions I had coming in here were answered already, but just for the sake of, you know, opinions and perceptions of a resident, let's see here. There were just a few things I wanted to just like, I didn't really have any questions to pose, but maybe just agreements with some of the things that were said. The whole setback thing, I think somebody pointed out that this is probably going to be applicable to mostly larger lots. So I thought the difference between like a 10-foot setback versus a 15-foot setback would probably be pretty minimal. If you got a 2-story structure that's 10 feet from the property line versus 15 feet, I don't think that's going to be a huge difference for the neighbor personally. But anyway, the allowable square feet, I thought the 1,500 for an acre or more, 1,250 for less, I thought that was great. I've actually looked into, you know, smaller floor plan type things. I live on an acre lot. So this has always been a thought in the back of me and my wife's heads. And it seems like from what I have seen, different plans out there, that's a sweet spot at 1,200 to 1,500 square feet. So I really liked what was proposed there. I really liked the idea of having allowable square feet and setbacks applicable to lot size. I thought that made a lot of sense. You know, because once again, bigger lots, houses aren't going to be as close together, so a 10-foot setback on bigger lots is probably not a big deal, but on smaller lots, I can see how it would be. So I liked the idea of, you know, different regulations for different lot sizes. And I think that was pretty much it. Mr. Thane, I liked the point you made of like not restricting this to the point where nobody can do it. Because I think that would maybe be a tendency. But anyway, that's all I had. So thank you.
Thanks.
If there's nobody else out, we'll close public comment, and everybody have a chance to think about their thoughts. Rob, would you please bring up the ones in order that we haven't decided?
So I think the only thing left to decide is the setbacks and height.
Yeah.
So as I heard with the square footage, it is 1,250 if you're under an acre, 1,500 if you're an acre or over. We agreed with the keeping it to the height or size of the home. It can't be between the home and the front property line, and the parking requirement. So all that's left is the setbacks and height.
I still have a thing with, like, I've seen some other set ADU rules in other towns, but I just can't imagine a 1/4 of an acre would be okay to build 11,000 square feet. You know, that's under a 1/4 of an acre.
But there's the percentage, the lot coverage
Oh,
percentage.
yeah, but
So when we run that number, it seemed like it was like a 450 square foot. Again, I may be wrong on the numbers, but
that's still
that
tight.
size, when it's 5%,
Yeah.
you're down to something that you almost limit
Yeah,
you always
your
limit yourself
option,
out of
yeah.
even wanting to do it.
But that also, though, you know, as it is with a quarter of an acre, if you've got all these quarter of an acre homes, that's tight to look at to begin with.
Do we have
So people
that
are
here in
building
Highland?
these houses in there, pardon me?
Do we have a neighborhood that's quarter acres?
I don't know. Well, I know we have 0 lot lines, so I don't know. I don't
Most
know.
open space neighborhoods average a quarter acre.
Yeah, see, and that's tight. But I just, I don't know, I thought, I was somehow in my head, when I read 11,000, I read 11,000 buildable, apart
run the
from what's
math.
already built, you know. So then when you said it wasn't, I just kind of was
Yeah.
surprised.
So can I propose that we vote on the setback thing just to see where we're at?
Yeah, you do.
Is that okay, Thane? So I would want to vote on keeping the setbacks, what the lots are, based on the community that they're in. So I'm a yes on that.
Did you say how many?
Let's-
How many yes? I'm a yes, I'm a yes.
I'm a yes with keeping it with the.
Keeping it simple, keeping
Yeah.
it,
For the main home,
Yes.
yes.
whatever that community is.
Yes.
It's 15, 10, or,
To whatever the setbacks are for the main home.
So we talked about that for a minute, and we came up with a solution that made me happy, allowing you to flex that depending on your lot. If there's nobody behind you, or making it fit the lot versus sticking it right in the center of the backyard. And
well, I don't
forgive me,
think it
remember what
goes
we
in the
did.
center with the setbacks. I mean, who would do that?
With the 30-foot setback.
But
You
yeah.
you have 10 feet
No,
on
but
the
it would
side,
be
though,
over
so
and
you
off
could
to
put
the
it
It
to
side.
the
goes
side.
towards the center. Again, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but we'll just say your lot is 300 feet deep. That's too big, but you're going to go more towards the center. So if your front is 30, the back of your house to the front of your ADU is 30, and then the back of it to be 30. So you have to move that around in a
So
bigger
use an
window.
example of a lot width. That's really what's being affected. If you have 120 feet in an R140, you're going to be to the right of something or to the full left. And then the setback, like I said, I was open to pushing it to the back, but then the person that lives back there always felt it was 30 and 30. And I just don't want to encroach on existing setbacks that are out there. I think it's going to cause a lot of heartache in neighborhoods.
I
People are
do
going to be
too.
upset
I do too.
with each other, not necessarily with us,
Sure.
but
With
with
the
their
city,
neighbor.
too. They'll be mad at the city as well as the neighbor.
But they could throw a big shed. What is it? I can't, too many numbers. What's just the setback for like,
10 feet.
But it's a shed, and that was originally agreed on.
right?
Like, that was set there when they bought the property.
Well,
Let's put it to a vote and see how it goes.
Absolutely, thank you.
All right, so what's the vote?
So I want to do just regular setbacks, keep it simple.
Does somebody want to make a motion? Do we need to make a
No,
motion?
we're not.
We're not making a motion?
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought we were just saying how we feel about it.
Yeah, we're just saying how we feel about, the motion is for the whole thing.
It's not a motion. I want to vote on that one topic.
Yeah.
So I agree with the current setbacks except the rear. I think the rear should be adjusted
Yeah.
How would we adjust it?
according to the size of the lot. Like if we're dealing with less than an acre, you're still, if it's less than an acre, if it's an acre or less, you still sometimes have narrow lots and wider lots that you're having to deal with. And if you're having a deep
Is your microphone
lot
on?
that's more than an acre. Oh, it isn't on? Well, let me think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking too, who says it's deep and who says it's wide? You know, what I mean, like, well, my lot's deep, so I get blah, blah, blah. I mean, so I get 30-foot setback, but my lot's wide, so I should only get a 20-foot setback or whatever. We'd have to have numbers then, and
I also think if it does become a big issue, we can still adjust it down the road. I mean, somebody can present it and we can revisit it.
I
think-
don't know.
It's hard to change,
We
though.
usually don't do that.
Well, that's all we do.
Hold precedence.
And I'm not saying one
don't wanna
person
kick
comes
the
in.
can.
I'm saying Rob comes and says, a lot of
We
people
got an
are
issue."
having a problem with this.
But we don't have an established, code on dadoos right now, so
So what
I
we
don't
could-
think there is an expectation with
But
neighbors right now.
these are permanent structures. This is a big deal.
Oh, yeah,
So
absolutely.
you could say, if it's shorter than what's originally there, you have to get the permission from the person from behind you to do it.
No,
No,
See, it's getting
'cause- yeah, 'cause
complicated,
then someone
right?
moves in.
no way.
My problem is, I think the person behind is gonna be,
power to tell you what you can do on your property.
that's why I think
No.
you just leave it.
Well,
Rob,
but,
just leave-
but
yeah.
there's nothing in place right now, though, for dadoos.
I know, I'm just saying we don't ever
We're
put
creating
in.
it, so,
I don't think we want to encroach on what's already existing for livable structures, is where I stand.
I totally agree on a small lot, because you're putting something way too
Yeah.
close. This again applies to the larger lot scenario where
Mm-hmm.
even if I'm on the property line, the neighbor's house could be 80 feet away, or it could be 40 feet away, regardless.
Well, if you have a larger lot, you shouldn't have a problem with the
Yeah.
30-foot setback.
But if it's below,
Then, yeah, then you bought a small lot. Live with it.
Rob, really quickly, Liz brought up a good point about like tiny homes on wheels and things like that. Do we have
Yes.
in here, have we stipulated that that cannot be
It's got to match the structure.
mobile home type? I mean, it could still match and have wheels. They build them to,
Can we even stop that now?
There's some restrictions on whether we can regulate like mobile homes. The architectural requirement and the requirement that it be a permanent structure will defeat a lot of those things.
Yeah.
You can still do modular homes, but I've seen modular homes that are 8,000 square feet and you couldn't tell that they were not custom built either. So,
that doesn't apply as much as anymore.
yeah, so we have a permanent structure requirement and an architectural compatibility.
'Cause it's a mo-
We also have separately rules about you can't live in like a trailer or an RV.
Yeah.
And that would stay in place.
But wasn't a permanent structure defined as not on wheels or
Yes.
has a foundation, and that eliminates, you put it on a foundation, then it becomes a permanent structure, you gotta take the wheels off,
Yes. So, I mean, you could convert theoretically like even a
RV.
shipping container into this, but it would require a lot of work to make it exteriorly look good.
Like your house looks.
I'll tell you where I'd be willing to bend on this. And that's, I would be willing to bend maybe 20 to 25-foot setback if there is a permanent open space area behind, such as a trail corridor or an open space area. But that's probably going to be it.
And I just want to put one more thing in here, and then I'll be quiet and we can vote on it or whatever we do. My concern is when you have a large setback, that gets ignored by the owner of the property in front. So just like these fences.
ignored by the what?
Owner.
If someone builds it and it's a 30-foot setback on their dadu, or a shop or whatever it is, that piece usually gets ignored. Weeds grow up, it's not taken care of. Just like,
that space between the
The
back
space,
of the
because they no longer
dadu
see
and
it.
the property line.
yeah, it just becomes no man's land or no woman's land, however you want to say that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get cared for.
Well, I think if it's 10-foot, that would definitely be the
It
case.
still applies
But if
to-
it's 30, I would think if they already have a nice yard, they're going to make it comply with their yard.
So what do you guys want to do? I'm
I don't-
not going to fight on this anymore. We know what Jerry's is. Aubrey, where you at?
Mine is also affected by height, so for me, it would be, if it is not 2-story and it's 1-story, and it is back there, that changes the game for me. Then I'm more flexible.
Thank you for remembering that, because that was the element that I was okay with too. And that fixed this, is if we talked about if it's the envelope and the height stays the same,
Yeah.
if it's 25 feet or less, you can be the 10-foot,
10 foot, that'd be too
the
tight.
setback.
20 foot or whatever.
That's what we talked about, but please.
And that's why I
insert any-
said I'm flexible on I'm flexible on the
30.
rear setback if it's a one-story. I absolutely am.
All the way
what?
down to 10 feet?
I didn't say 10.
Oh, no, I hear
No,
you saying
I
10 foot.
I said that. I
Yeah, no, that's why I
apologize.
was, that's,
What does flexibility mean?
yeah, what-
20, maybe 15, if it's a lower structure, yeah. And I don't know how to regulate that, but I've been there, I've seen these. It's not invasive. It is nice because like you said, they actually take care of that part of the yard. It's incorporated, it looks nice, and everything is facing the nice yard instead of the fence behind
I
them.
will say most residential backyards are 20 feet. So if you put an ADU that's 20 feet off the back, so you don't have the problem you're talking about, that'll be the backyard for that ADU. 10 feet, like you said, or I think you said, that's just going to go, it's not.
That's
but I think
crazy.
I would be open to single level going to 20 in the back.
I would be open to single level going to 20, but not 25 feet tall. I think 25 feet is not short, is not little. That's pretty tall.
Let's just say
If it's
single
single
story.
story,
Single
you
story.
probably
Let's say
get,
single story.
Single story, 15-foot.
well, single stories, I've
Combined.
seen the roofs like this, so,
And that's fine because that's,
but then they're up to 25
So,
feet or more
If you
height.
build a 25-foot shop, can it exist as long as it's the 30-foot, or what? Or does
Yes.
that eliminate
Yeah.
that
30
piece
feet.
completely?
well, if
No, the
you
shops
build
can
a
go to
shop
10.
and it's going to have an ADU in it and livable, it has to meet the current city code.
Yeah,
But if it is a single story,
Then you can,
then you can scoot it back further.
but I believe that that's where the 10-foot came from. That is the existing code, is you can't.
Yeah, we're
do
not,
10
we're not changing shops and,
No, I'm not saying we're
storage.
changing shops, but one, or an accessory building with an ADU inside of it.
You wouldn't be able to
Last
do
time we
that
talked
at
about,
20.
you would be able to go to 10 feet because that's the existing code. Now we're saying that or that accessory building would have to meet another one to have an ADU, which would eliminate anyone who already has something built at a 10-foot setback.
Yeah, I think that this would eliminate anyone with a shop has a 10-foot
Existing.
setback from the rear. They just would be SOL.
yeah, that's so close.
I would be 15, 10, and 10, single story. I'd even 15, 15, 15, if it, yeah, especially considering the home on the other side of the rear setback is quite a way setback also. The sides seem to be more, I'm surprised we're not talking about the side setbacks a little more, because you're gonna have dwelling
It's
units a
annoying,
lot closer to each other on the sides. If I have an ADU that's 10 feet from the rear, no one's gonna be watching me,
We're
brush
in
my teeth.
circles.
Yeah, and
talked
it
about
depends on
this
where-
already.
the way you-
we,
which
we
yard you
decided that the
use.
sides were 15. We discussed that.
But we did discuss what Jay suggested, like, it depends on how close the other existing.
Main structure is.
Closest
Structure,
dwelling,
yeah.
Yeah, I'm back to just house setbacks.
Me too now.
It's getting so confusing.
Okay, that's,
I mean, council,
I
council
am
can
for
debate it
single
farther,
story.
but-
I think it can be closer to the back.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'd go 15, single story 15, but
so short of
That's-
what Jerry
Short, too tight, yeah.
said, if we want to allow them to go closer, they go down. Do we want to include that, or just go to the matching the house's setbacks?
Oh.
30, 15, and 10, or however that is.
I just think that if we are trying to keep in the spirit of a granny flat,
Yeah,
then
be
it's going to be a single
single story
story. And that's not going to be a backyard they're going to want to keep. They're not going to be doing the jacuzzi in the back. They're going to be using the yard that's theirs, or there's going to be a yard taken care of in between the main house. It's generally a courtyard scenario.
Or a
You've got,
20-foot backyard
yeah, whichever.
behind theirs.
So, that usually ends up being storage, and something's parked behind it. But then, this was a question I had for you, Rob. When you have utilities on a property line anyway, and they're usually run along the back, cable, all that kind of stuff, phone, whatever. None of this is going to, the sheds, all that kind of stuff, everything's within the 10 feet of the property line, right? That's all,
Yep, the only thing we allow within, that's within the 10 feet, like shorter than 10 feet is pools. If you go through a process of vacating all public utilities, blue staking the area, and that was a process we went through with, you probably remember that discussion from a couple of years ago. So we've
Yeah.
had a few people do that, but basically anything other than a pool has to be at least 10 feet, and sometimes it's a lot more than that.
right, okay, that's what I see.
So I want to close this one up. Jerry, I know where you're at on,
So just so you know where I'm at, I would do the building setbacks, or I would go 20 if it's a single story.
In the rear.
I would move toward,
sure,
I would prefer just doing the building,
okay.
but to get the fourth vote, if saying that's a single story goes to 20 instead of 30,
Okay.
I would say yes
Where
to
are you at,
that.
Aubrey?
Drew.
I apologize.
My daughter's Aubrey.
But, that's, I'm in agreement.
Sounds like a good compromise.
So we have an agreement, either or, which one?
Oh, I think we're saying,
Both of
We
them?
do either or.
We agree to
Okay, thank you.
if it's a single.
If it's single, then you can go closer.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You're good? Deborah's good?
well, that's 4.
I'd be willing to do the 20, I think, with a single story, otherwise
Microphone.
it needs to be
Right.
the regular.
The regular.
setbacks, as
That's-
Jerry said.
Yeah.
Did you
Okay.
catch that, Rob?
Hey, did you catch that,
Yes,
Rob?
we've got at least a majority on the setbacks to be the home, the main dwelling setbacks, except if you're a single story, which I would probably write in a single story not to exceed 15 feet and capture that intent. Then you can go down to a 20-foot rear setback. Now, the only other,
Wait.
what?
15-foot max on a single story.
Oh, the height.
Yeah.
Yes. To clarify what a single
Define.
story means, because you can have a single story that is 20 feet
Yes,
high.
thank you, Rob, thank
Yeah,
you.
that's good.
So I was saying 15 feet as a, tossing a number out.
Yes.
A shop is a single story and it's 25 or 35 or as high as you let it go.
Yes.
That's where you're trying
as
to
I said,
stop.
if you're going to do that, we're trying to avoid.
That,
Thank
yeah,
you.
and I have
We're
so
all
many
in
issues
agreement
with
there.
that one, so that's a
What
different
else did we
thing.
miss?
The only final thing, height. If you're, we talked about the single story. If you're not the single story, you're within the building setbacks, 25 feet or 35 feet.
It matches the house.
I think you just matched the house.
Now it's just, perfect, done.
Wait, and we're all in agreement on the 1250 and then 15 over
15
1
over
acre
1.
over.
Over an acre.
an acre?
An acre.
Over an
Like
acre
less
or an
than-
acre and over?
Uh,
I'd like it 12.
Acre
Over.
And
or
over.
Okay,
is
Okay,
1500.
I say
Got
over
it.
an
Under
acre.
is
The
I'd like to
legalese,
see
whatever
it
that
less
is.
for half, less than
so
an acre. I'd
just
like
to
see it
summarize,
less.
everything else we've talked about, all of the things I went through before, nobody has any changes on setbacks. We're following the setbacks for the main dwelling, except we'll have an exception for single story, not to exceed 15 feet. Dadus, they can go 20 feet, so they get a 10-foot shift back.
Really quick, and single story does allow for a basement.
Yes, single story above ground is how I would understand that. Then if you are within the normal building footprint,
No.
you can go up to 35 feet.
6 out of the ground, 20 feet.
Dadu size is 1250 if you're under an acre, 1500 if you're an acre or over. You still have the normal lot coverage. You're good with not exceeding the height or size of the home and cannot be located between the home and the front property line, and the parking space is basically the most we can require by state law, 1 and 2. So with that, I think that's all remaining questions, so 2 for bigger, yes.
And I apologize, Rob. We only addressed what was highlighted. Did anybody have any concerns on anything that wasn't highlighted?
Can I have a detached
Microphone.
underground bunker? Am I not loud enough?
No.
A detached underground bunker.
Yes.
Completely underground.
We actually have talked to many residents because
And-
we care about lot coverage. If you're under it, it's not lot coverage.
And it can be as big as I want it to be.
Literally as big as you want it to be, as long as you're not undermining your neighbor's property.
All right. I'll get digging.
Great. So
YouTube video I
with
can
that,
show
I
you
have a
if she's-
proposed motion that just generally incorporates the changes that we have discussed and agreed upon tonight. So
Okay, I move that the Planning Commission recommend that the City Council adopt the proposed regulations related to the detached accessory dwelling units, incorporating the changes and specifications agreed to by the Planning Commission.
Yeah,
I second.
We'll
So we
second.
have a motion and a second.
who was the second?
That,
It was the same time, Audrey or Deborah, whichever you'd like.
Audrey said it first.
Audra.
Audrey.
No, Audra. I was combining your guys' names.
Oh, dear.
I struggle enough with people's names. Don't confuse me more. Motion, second. Start
Aye.
with Jerry.
Yes.
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 Perfect.
Yes,
Aye.
Yes, aye.
thank you. Thank you for everyone's patience.
Okay.
It's not supposed to be painless.
Okay, hopefully a shorter discussion, but we'll see. Another setback question, which is everyone's joy. This came from the City Council. So currently, any attached deck, whether covered or uncovered, or a covered patio, are subject to home setbacks because they're attached to the home. There is an exception if you cantilever your patio. So if you build a roof structure with no supporting beams, you can apparently build that as much as you want. It's not considered part of the home. It's an odd exception. I've never seen anyone use it, but it's currently in our code.
You can't.
Like if you build just an awning going out, it doesn't count for against setbacks.
Oh.
As part of the main home.
That's bad.
Few people have actually done that. I don't know of anyone. But that is a current exception in our code. But in open space neighborhoods, this restriction means most of them can't have essentially decks more than like a landing. I've had a lot of residents talk about decks or covered patios in their backyards, and because of that 30 or 25-foot setback, it's a little bit different in open space neighborhoods. Many of them just cannot fit a deck within the home setbacks. So that has led, some have built in violation of the code, others have just essentially not built or built just a tiny little thing. Decks are one of the things that we have a large area where people build without a permit. A lot of contractors build them. We don't have a lot of permits for them. One of the things in talking with Jason, our building official, one of his goals that he says that he likes to push is making it easier to get a permit rather than harder, because it's already hard enough to get someone to apply for a permit. If we make it harder and put more regulations, they just will do what they want and not get the permit anyway. So in kind of discussion, council said, can we look at changing setbacks just for decks and covered patios? So I've came up with some options. You can accept some of them, change them, or say, no, we want to keep it the way it is.
Can I clarify something though?
Yes.
And maybe that's why you don't have a lot of permits. I understood anything under 30 inches can go anywhere. I can deck my whole backyard if it's under 30 inches.
Correct. So anything that requires a building permit. So, and that is for decks 30 inches. If you're over 30 inches, you have to get a building permit. Or if you're building a roof structure.
In height or in square
30
footage?
inches in height. You don't have to have a
Great.
railing or anything.
Yep. So we have a lot of decks that are that, but for people who want to build it off a second story or build it like a pergola attached to their home to cover their deck so they have a nice barbecue area, that's where we're running into the issue.
Okay, so right now, I could still deck my whole backyard if it's under
Correct.
30 inches. Okay.
Correct.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah, no, you can still, and you can always do slab on grade type things. We
Right.
don't regulate any of that.
Wait, I have a question, Jerry. Did you say with rail, that doesn't count railings?
Anything, even in your house, if it's under 30 inches, you don't have to have railing, because you can survive a 30-inch fall.
You could.
So
Technically.
the proposal is to treat decks, or essentially to create an exception where we treat certain decks, whether covered or uncovered, and just to Jerry's point, when we're talking about decks, we're talking about decks that require a building permit. Treat decks and covered patios as accessory buildings, even though they're attached to the home, if certain conditions are met. So that would be, they'd have to meet all accessory structure regulations, which means you'd have setbacks rather than 30 feet from your rear property line, it'd go down to 10. You'd still be limited to 20 foot of height, even though the home is 35, you'd have to make sure the deck is under that, or your covered patio is under that. It would still count against your lot coverage. You could just have it right next to the home. The only thing that wouldn't apply is we currently have a 6-foot setback requirement between an accessory building and a home. We just wouldn't apply that to decks. So essentially we say, you can build a deck attached to your home and basically count that as your accessory structure if you meet all accessory structure regulations. That's the proposal.
But just to clarify, currently, I could go build a covered thing, as long as I have like a 6-inch gap between my covered thing and my house. What is it?
6 feet.
Okay, if I have a 6-foot gap, I can still put it out there as long as it meets those other requirements.
Yes, so you could put out, and
You're just saying we're going to allow you to attach it, but use the ADU regulations.
essentially, yes. So if you can build a pergola, say a 300 square foot pergola, you could put it in your corner of your yard. We're saying you could put that attached to your home as well.
Yeah.
It's the same lot coverage limit. We don't really care. That allows some people to be able to put it next to their home and make a nice, walkout area for them. So that was the intent. And the biggest areas, assuming, first of all, whether the commission wants to recommend doing that is up to you. The second area is, as I looked at it, I thought those decks and covered patios would have to be open to some degree. Because if you just wall them in, it's just an addition to your home. There's no point to it.
Right.
So the real question is, how do we regulate how open it is? And I came up with 3 options. Now, there's any number of permutations on this. I just kind of try to think of different options. One is just required to be fully open except against the home, except for, like open style deck railing type things. So that means basically you can't put any lattice work, any fencing, any walls around the deck or covered patio. Option 2 would to borrow from our fence code, where we require certain fences to be 2/3 open, and impose that. Just say you can screen it in as long as it's 66% open. So you could do kind of open lattice type screening, or you do something where like you have, a third of, say you have a 12-foot high deck, you can do a third of that, 4 feet, fully enclosed, and create a little bit of privacy that way, or permutations on that.
Okay, so question for you on that one. What about retractable screens and curtains?
I thought about that.
Everybody needs sunblock on some part of the day, and if you're west facing, you're toast. So I've got a massive pergola on the back patio on the back of my house, and I have had to
Plenty of
purchase
space for it.
sunscreens just to put it down to be able to use it.
So anything that's movable wouldn't count. So I was thinking of like a table umbrella where you might angle it, or even like movable screens. In terms of something attached permanently, I toyed with throwing something
Permanently
in
that
there.
moves up and down?
Like moves up and down. I toyed with making that not count.
Yeah.
So
Because
we-
I pull them off in winter and stick them in a shop so that they
especially with
don't
how
get blown
windy we
away.
are, it's
Audrey, you also have a large backyard, and you're way far from any
I know, I'm just saying
setbacks.
applicable to everybody.
Yeah.
I'm just saying applicable, that's something very
Is yours
useful.
a screen that hooks, or does it roll up?
Mine is like from blinds, it's like a blinds, but it's a partial shade where you
Yes.
have,
Hang it
it's
and
a
it stays
screen,
there.
but it's like, it's a partial shade. And you hang it and I roll it down
Oh, okay.
and I
so
can roll it back
I
up.
think as I wrote this, I proposed it as a permanent enclosure, so a wall.
A wall.
Okay,
Something that you've
good.
bolted in, not something you move up and down.
Okay,
But what about if I have 3 sides open except for the house, and one side I want to be my barbecue kitchen? Does that count as a wall?
No.
Okay.
I mean, and that might be the option of option 2, where you just say 66% open, you figure out, show us what it looks like, so we know that, that's more than half is
you got
open
your
throughout
outdoor
the deck.
oven and your,
Yeah.
And option 3 was just to allow one enclosed wall, so you can basically wall off your south or your west side and just have that be, and you can put all your stuff against that, but everything else has to be fully open. And again, a lot of other permutations are available. So before we kind of delve into those, I just wanted to go through, I did update some other things that even if, we don't want to adopt the setback changes for decks and patios, I'd recommend adopting everything else, because there are some definitions and just setback things that weren't well written. I'd like to clean them up. So I cleaned up some definitions using, and use those defined terms throughout the code better. So, again, we've received no comments on this. It's a public hearing. So the main issue is, first, do you want to, recommend doing this at all? Second, if you do, what level of openness should we require? So those are the two kind of main questions.
One other question for you is, this came from city council. What is their preference?
They don't currently have one. There was a few circumstances that came before them, and
Why did this come up then?
we have a resident who, without delving too much into the history, essentially ended up building something that's not permitted. And this would essentially
Allow them.
potentially allow it, depending on what level of openness.
So, also, we're talking strictly first floor, right? Like off the ground? We talking second story balconies or anything like that?
Yes, but as I proposed it, it would still just have to meet accessory structure regulations. Essentially, if you could build a pergola or a shade structure of some kind up to 25 feet, you can do that. You can just attach it to your home as well. So you can have a deck on a second story that comes out and even has a roof over it, as long as that roof was at 25 feet above grade.
That roof might have
And
to
still
be
meets-
flat.
And the roof might have to be flat,
Yeah.
because it'll probably have to be lower than the home roof. But essentially, we treat it as an accessory building. So you'll have to show us from grade how high the highest point of whatever deck
Yeah.
patio cover
And it
is.
would still have to meet the setbacks,
Still have to meet the accessory structure setbacks,
okay.
10 feet from all
10
sides.
feet. Boy, 10 feet, second story porch is sure looking into your neighbor's house and yard and everything else. I could see the ground. The ground level seems to be, but 10
The thought
foot
was,
second
if you could
story.
build it 6 feet away from the home, the problem is, once you get 6 feet away from the home, a lot of people, you want it against the home, because you want to be able to walk out of your back, your back door, and have your barbecue patio area there. If you can do that 6 feet away from your home, is there a huge concern with doing that against your home?
Oh, I'm just thinking of some of these homes that are close together, probably what's causing the turmoil to begin with, as far as the setbacks and all that from those townhome types or those, homes with, because bottom level to me is like, go for it. I mean, I don't have an issue with probably any of them, but when you get up to the second floor, if you're able to put decks and stuff, or porch, second floor porches, could cause some infringement on.
Which is why I felt if this was to be allowed, you would have to regulate how open it was, because the goal is to ensure that it still feels.
But it's still standing on it.
Could we potentially do it on the lower deck and not have it be on an upper floor deck?
So essentially a covered patio
Yeah.
only,
Right.
Right.
not for decks.
Yes.
for-
Not for upper
Not for
floor
upper.
decks.
Yeah.
Because if
Bottom
they
floor
built it
doesn't
6
matter.
feet
Second
away,
story
they couldn't
deck
get to
versus
the-
a
Main floor and
ground,
the
main
basement
floor
walkout.
level deck or patio.
Yeah.
So I ate, slept, and breathed this for months, because we just finished a big outdoor patio. It's like 25 by 30 feet attached to right up against that 30 feet setback. Yes.
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
got it right here.
That's
I
fine.
was just going over it.
Well, he just said a lot of people.
Right. And so, and a lot of considerations, and some of them that you've covered in here. I kind of went through. The winds in Highland are mighty, and it would have been really nice, and we're still looking into this, to have a wall,
Windbreak.
a wind-breaking wall that isn't the house, obviously. Honestly, out of all the options that you have, I feel like option 2 makes sense, because you're not allowing them to put in an indoor livable space. With option 2, it gives them the privacy, and there's a mutual privacy there also, from
Yeah.
the neighbors, without it being just another living room, or whatever. But then it gives them the ability to control for the weather and to, maximize the use of that outdoor space, like we put up a couple of big 4-foot heaters on both sides of the patio, and it's all completely open, but it feels like we're indoors but outdoors, and that mix is great. I don't think the 66% open on all sides except the home. I think that sufficiently allows people to, depending on which side of they're facing, east, west, whatever, or if they want to control for any weather, I think that gives them the flexibility while also maintaining the spirit of the restrictions, and that is not letting them create more indoor living space.
Okay.
I like option 2 also, but main level only.
Yes.
And
What?
the other thing we need to
Level
consider is some of these homes are built in an L.
right with Jerry
And
tonight.
they've created a courtyard option for themselves for that purpose, for shade, for wind block, but now they're at 50%.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So I just excluded everything attached to the home from consideration, because you can have a home that has multiple sides where you're building off of it. So it's not necessarily just a 4-sided deck. So I tried to write it so it's just whatever sides that aren't attached to the home are subject to whatever.
Okay.
Yes.
I like option 2 as well, other than you brought up if they have the kitchen outside and a chimney and different things, that might limit, that 66% might limit something like that. But I don't know if you added one could be, where does it go? One additional wall could be enclosed for that kind of purpose, but otherwise 2 fits, I think, everything.
Rob, did you
Counter
say,
height, and yeah.
did you say if a home is like at a 90, like has a wall here, if it's already there, then you can add the deck there
Yes.
Yeah.
without problems? Like you can have those 2 sides?
Yep. Yeah, the house can fully enclose, obviously, because you're not going to rip out part of your house. It's just every side that's not bordering the house has to meet whatever openness requirement you impose here.
Okay.
So if you have 2 sides, or even 3 sides, because you kind of have, some homes have lots of angles to them, you can build your deck off of it, have it be connected to all of that. It's just everything that's not against the home has to be open as defined. Mostly, you're probably going to be on setbacks, and that still doesn't limit if essentially it's in any deck or patio that doesn't meet whatever requirements we set, you still can build them. It's just you build them per normal home setback requirements.
So that's where I struggled originally with where does this apply? And all of what we described typically is not going to be right on the edge of someone's property where we want to bring that down to 10 feet. So it's really limited.
It's mostly a rear setback issue. I don't think I've ever seen a side setback issue. It's the rear,
The rear.
trying to get it back, and it's always an open space area, essentially where they're limited, and they want to build a deck out and cover it, or put a pergola out there.
So we need
So it sounds like option 2 and limit it to the main structure, so, no more than whatever the first floor is.
Yeah, I like option 2 with ground level, first floor of the house, ground level.
I'm with the first floor, but if it's a basement walkout, that's not considered the first floor of the house, not the first floor if it's a walkout basement.
And to clarify further, if they do a deck, it's on the second story, so it's the top of the first floor. Would you be fine with that as long as it wasn't covered? So you just have the deck and a rail?
No. Then that's people on the deck 10 feet away from your fence looking at you
Yeah,
all the time.
Yeah.
So it's really just covered patios that we're making the exception
Just
for.
first floor level anything in my book.
Well, I mean, you're not going to have a deck. If your deck's
Well, a
low
deck-
enough, you don't need a
I-
building permit.
Well, decks are
Yes.
couple
We're
So-
allowing
covered
a
deck, so
temporary
yeah.
sunshade. They can pull out a sunshade,
Yeah, that's all we're really.
like an over,
An awning kind
an
of
awning
sunshade, yeah.
sort of thing.
I was just thinking about my personal home. I have a walkout basement with a deck over it that's 10 feet off of the ground, but it's still at the main level
Of the house,
walkout.
yeah, of
So
the first
I just
floor.
don't want to exclude that,
Yeah,
but the wording
that's-
sounds like we are if we're just saying it's ground level patio.
First floor level.
So any covering can't exceed the top of the first floor.
There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, definitely first floor level.
Anybody else have any comments, or are we ready to take this to public comment? Okay, let's let Rob catch up, but we can open this up to public comment. Go ahead, Liz, if you have something. 3 minutes. State your name, Liz Rice.
Thank you, Trent. I think you just did, Liz Rice. Sorry. So I just have a question, and Rob and I have kind of been through this. But if I go to replace my deck, right, Rob? You can answer this. And I only put back what I had, are you going to grandfather some of this in? Because you're not going to grandfather it in.
Nope, so technically the only grandfathering is if it was built according to code originally.
Right.
You can maintain it and replace it with the same footprint. If it wasn't built to code originally, you have to bring it into code whenever you do something on it.
Okay. So I think that's going to hurt a lot of people.
That's,
But why didn't you
People
build
that
it to
built out of
code?
code?
No, I don't, I don't know. I have a couple of examples, but I
I'm
just.
sorry, I don't understand your comment. I'd
Well,
love to
I
understand
know,
it.
I just want to know if you're going to grandfather anything in that is,
Just happened to
I
be
mean,
built?
if you replace a deck that is already there, meets the same blueprint, then it doesn't really apply, right?
You say a deck that's already there, one that was permitted and built to code at the time?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, it
You
was,
just said
apply.
that,
yeah, if it was built
Well-
to code at the
Yeah.
time,
you're fine.
yeah, just build it to same old code.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment? We'll close public comment. Anyone like to make a motion?
I motion that we adopt option 2, but to also include only on the main level.
I second that.
Motion and a second. Go ahead, Jerry.
Yes?
Yes?
Yes.
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 Aye.
All right. Thank you.
Love it. Love it.
So we have our communication items, April 29th, City Council working session. What are they working on? Budget. Thank you. And May 5th, City Council meeting to discuss what we've got here. So if anybody wants to be there, please be there. May 19th, City Council meeting. Why do we have two so close together?
2 weeks apart.
Okay, and then we are back here on the 26th of May. And Rob, thank you so much for all the early stuff you've been getting us when it's available. That has been super helpful.
And thank you for everything. I was just reading through all that. I'm like, wow, you do a lot of work, and we appreciate you.
You give us too much, and it probably extends the conversation that we have here, so.
You're the best, Rob.
And thanks for returning me to the email list. I'm back to the land of the living.
Anybody want to make, oh, go ahead, Deborah. Anyone want to make a motion to close our meeting?
I'll move. To close.
Deborah closed.
Aye.
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 Who seconded that?
I second.
Thank you.
And Jay, I didn't mean to leave you out. Thank you for all of your work as well. Appreciate you.
What does Jay do? Oh, I could go on and
He
on.
didn't take the bait.
I know. He just looked sad. Jay, you do so much. I'm going to go give you a hug.
Oh no, now you're gonna get a hug.
He doesn't look happy about that either.
You need to ask first.
I'm going to come and hug you. If you don't want it, just say unwanted, unwanted, unwanted 3 times. Yes, 3 times loudly. I'm still on.